Welcome to Real Talk. I'm Kathy Dawson with Homefield Group, and today I'm here with my business partner, Rick Lobb, and Paul Bruinsma. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
Paul is with Bruinsma Excavating, and you guys have been in the business now for 50 years.
Yes.
That's
it
amazing.
was incorporated in 1972, and this is our 50th year.
That's great. Who started the business, and tell us a little bit about when you first became interested in it.
So the business was started in 1972 by my uncle Charlie and my father Sid. They worked together for 2 years before my father went out on his own and Charlie started the pool business. I have worked in the excavation industry my whole life. When I was 16, I was doing snow removal before high school.
You were always interested.
Yeah.
Nice.
When I was 14, I was running the backhoe, driving it to job sites, driving dump truck on job sites. I've been in it my whole life.
And how big has the company gotten to at this point, like as far as employee base, or how large is it now?
When my father was running it, about the largest he had was 6 employees. Now, our biggest year, we've had about 15.
And you typically, I mean, the excavation you do is for residential construction, agricultural construction?
Correct.
Commercial?
Yep, we do quite a bit of commercial. We've done about probably 50 to 75% of the commercial in Goderich.
Yeah, okay. You always see in any construction project around this area, you normally will see some kind of Bruinsma logo driving to or from the site. So
we hope.
Yeah, that's right.
You've been doing some excavating in Coast, the new homes at the Coast development, and you're also in the septic business as well, right?
Correct. Yes, we've been working with Haycoop Construction at the Coast. We've been doing all the excavation for the foundations and the services there, and the backfilling so far. And we do septics also for our rural customers. We average anywhere from 1 to 3 dozen septics a year.
Interesting. And with the living by the lake, there's a lot of environmental changes. What sort of environmental changes have you seen in the last few years that have been going on with septics?
The environmental, it's more the Ontario Building Code keeps changing, which puts constraints on septics, setbacks, what is acceptable or allowable to come out of a septic system after it's gone through the tiling process. That's what's changed. The conservation authorities have put more regulations on their setbacks of septics to water, to ravines, to banks, etc. So yeah, there's just more hoops that we have to jump through.
So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on today, because it is, as we have seen the shoreline real estate market continue to grow over the years, and you have all these developments by the lakeside that have traditionally been severed off into these tiny little lakefront parcels. And, you know, when Grandma and Grandpa built the cottage, the septic system was just kind of this old thing that, you know.
Most of them was like a steel barrel.
Right.
With maybe a pipe coming out.
Right.
Leading to the lake.
Yeah, so with the changes in the regulatory constraints, I guess, which obviously are beneficial. I mean, you don't want sewage going into the lake from so many of these cottages.
Correct.
But I've noticed in the last couple of years of looking at and selling property along the lake, you start seeing holding tanks. Well, it sort of went from, you know, you'd see a cottage with an old septic system and maybe there was a problem, and then the solution to that problem would have been an EcoFlow biofilter or something like it's kind of like a septic system that needs a smaller footprint, right?
Yeah, they're a tertiary unit is what they're called. They're a level 4 by the code book. They are basically a mini treatment plant on your own property is what they are.
Okay. With a peat moss filter?
So the EcoFlow uses a peat moss filter. There's other manufacturers out there. The code changed a couple years ago, and we went from about 16 different manufacturers or products to about 4 now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They really tightened the regulations on what was allowed to come out at the end process.
Oh, okay. So that's what was causing the smaller number of products.
Correct.
Is the fact that it has to be a certain amount of cleanliness or a certain...
Exactly.
Okay.
A certain amount of nitrates and suspended solids.
Okay. So then last year I'm showing some cottages, and then I start seeing by the lake holding tanks
Correct.
going in at certain locations. And I'm assuming that you would use a holding tank when you don't have enough room for an EcoFlow or one of those level 4 systems?
The biggest ones around here are Waterloo Biofilter or Norweco, and EcoFlow. EcoFlow is also there, but
Okay.
Waterloo Biofilter is a big brand around here, and so we install Norweco.
Okay. And then, so the Norweco system still needs a certain size of footprint?
Yeah, by the code book, there's a minimum amount of tile that we need to install in the ground, and that's 30 meters is the minimum. You can divide that up however you want to, but there's still separation guidelines that you need to operate within. And if we can't get one of these systems on your property, the last resort is a holding tank. But we must prove to the inspectors that we've exhausted all other options. Holding tanks are
Before
your
you
last...
put in a holding tank.
Before we apply for a holding tank. They are your last resort.
Right.
And are you noticing any difference with supply chains right now, causing delays in how long it would take to normally install something?
There is some minor delays. A lot of this is specialized, so a lot of the companies had their product already and are pre-ordering it a year, 2 years in advance. So there has been a few minor delays in the septic industry, but not compared to residential.
So if I'm a buyer that's going to move to a rural area or a recreational area, and I guess ideally and probably the lowest cost and easiest functioning system is a septic system. True or false?
Well, the lowest cost for a house would be something called a filter bed. And that is, you have your septic tank, you have your pipe coming out of your house, it goes to a septic tank, and then it goes to a filter bed. That's your lowest cost of your septic system.
And that's like the traditional?
No, that's not even traditional. That's just basically just a very specialized type of sand. You can only install that in a sand or gravel area.
Okay, and then the next level up would be a septic tank with a weeping bed?
Correct. Your standard weeping bed, which is a septic tank with a very large imprint for a weeping bed.
Okay, and I am getting to a point here. So then you're going to go from then the next level, if your lot is small and can't do a septic tank and a weeping bed, will be the biofilter.
Correct. And then, a lot of the cottages along the lake where it's clay and they have small lots, we need to go to a tertiary system, which is an advanced system.
Okay.
But going to an advanced system, your cost of installation is double.
So that's where I was going next. So and then the holding tank, which is what you were calling the last resort.
Yes.
Okay, so the cost difference then between, let's say, the initial first system we talked about with the filter bed versus the tertiary system or the filter system, and then the holding tank. Where are we in the cost spectrum?
Just a quick estimate on a filter bed, you could be 10,000. A traditional, you could be 20,000. A tertiary system, you could be 30,000. And a holding tank, you're back down to about 10.
Okay, but
yes.
and this is when we had the phone call, and you said something to me that flagged a massive concern in regards to holding tanks. And that is, when you install a holding tank, you're signing a document that basically states that you will agree to have this thing pumped every 2 weeks?
So by the Ontario Building Code, a holding tank is designed for 7 days use under normal use of your residence. So if you're at your cottage and you bring friends over, your holding tank could potentially be full in 4 days.
And what would the cost be to empty a holding tank?
Depending on location of your holding tank, how busy all the carriers are at that time of season, you could be anywhere from $350 to $750.
Each time you have to empty the tank.
Each time,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
when we were talking about this on the phone, and then of course, we have lost one of the value added options for
Yep.
septic tank emptying and holding tank emptying.
Correct.
And so now that there's one less tank in the game, or
Yep.
one less company that is removing
Yep.
holding tanks and septic systems, or emptying holding tanks and septic systems, you end up with lower numbers of suppliers who are doing that.
Correct.
And then the cost is starting to climb drastically.
The cost is climbing drastically. Harvey had specific areas where he could spread the effluent on, that he owned that property, whereas other carriers have to go out and now buy expensive farmland to apply the sewage to, or to rent that farmland at a cost.
And just on that note, so because viewers may not know, like when you empty, we have a tanker truck that's emptying septic systems all day. At the end, when that tank is full, your options, like it's not like you're going to a sewage system in one of the municipalities and emptying it there.
No.
You are, I mean, what are your options?
So this is laid out very clearly by the MOE on how carriers can empty. There are certain timelines throughout the year where you can spread it on a field. That portion of the field cannot be used for crops or any type of animal or human food consumption. So that basically the farmland that you're spreading the effluent or sewage on is only for effluent and sewage. If you cannot spread it on the farmland, your other option is to take it. I believe the only municipality around here that accepts residential sewage hauled in is Listowel.
That is amazing.
So
then-
carriers have to haul it
I was
all
just
the
going
way
to
to
say, so
Listowel.
trucking costs
Exactly.
increased.
Yeah.
And and then the price of fuel.
The price of fuel, the price of wages. Listowel has increased their dumping fees also.
So as far as the equipment that you have at your business, tell us a little bit about that, and maybe start with your pumping trucks. How many do you have?
We don't do any type of sewage pumping.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Okay.
no. We just, I will, depending on what area we're working in, we will call different carriers to come in and do the pumping for us. They are contacted by real estate agents also to do inspections on septics. We don't get into hauling or pumping. In my Porta Potty business, we do have our own pumping trucks, but that's only for porta potties.
Yeah.
They're not licensed to pump out septic systems, and again, we have to go to Listowel to dump.
Okay, interesting.
I guess the takeaway here is that when you're looking for real estate along the shoreline, the reality is that it should be of great importance to any buyer who is looking at cottages to know exactly what kind of waste system
100%.
is under the ground there.
Yeah.
Because
And-
a septic system is going to cost you drastically less than a holding tank situation.
Over the long
Over a
time.
long period of
Over a
time.
long period of time, yeah. If you're using your cottage weekly and you're having friends and guests come up and you're on a holding tank, you're costs will escalate quickly.
Now, here's the other interesting thing. We were talking about this on the phone. This might just circle back to the common use of outhouses again, because outhouses are still something that is like a viable thing to have on a property, right?
It is. It's actually in the code book on how to actually build an outhouse.
So these cottages are going to go full circle.
Nobody wants to use them.
No.
Exactly. Nobody wants to use them, but they are in the code book on how to actually build. You can get a permit to build an outhouse.
So there you go, folks. Got this, $1 million cottage along the lake.
Yeah.
And you got a holding tank? No problem. Just build an outhouse.
Correct. Yeah.
For your friends when they come and visit.
For your friends,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. The midnight run to the outhouse.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so your business then is excavating, installing septics, and you have a porta potty business on the side.
Yes, we have a company called Huron Toilet Rentals. We have about 125 porta potties in 2 trucks. We rent porta potties out to construction sites, weekend events, weddings.
Well, hey, thanks for coming in to talk shit with us today. And we appreciate seeing you, Paul. Thanks for taking the time.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Before we
Yeah.
go, though, we just want to touch on an event that Paul has coming up. You're organizing a Touch the Truck event. Tell us a little bit about that before
Yeah,
we go.
for our 50th, we are planning a Touch the Truck event at the Suncoast Mall on July 2nd from 9 till 1. We'll have equipment there, and we've asked a charity group to come in to run the food, and the police are going to have a vehicle there, and the fire department will have 1 or 2 trucks. And
Well, that's great.
Wonderful.
yeah,
Nice to see those events happening again.
it is great. When I talk to the police department and the fire department, they're both excited.
Wonderful.
They're excited to get back out into the community again.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and congrats again on
Yes,
50
thank you.
years. That's fabulous.